Good morning, welcome to episode number 79. I am back. I am so sorry I missed last week. Obviously, I was on childcare duties.
You were, but you're missing a fantastic episode.
I
How good was Claire?
haven't, because luckily we record them.
Do you really?
And you can watch them on YouTube and Spotify.
No. How good was Claire?
Claire was fantastic. Obviously, I've got the pleasure of working with Claire on the TV adverts that we've done. She mentioned it. But yeah, I was just, do you know what? It was actually quite good in some regard. I wasn't there because I'm more familiar with the college
Absolutely,
than yourself.
whereas I wasn't.
Yeah. So you probably got more leading, like, because sometimes when you know the subject a lot better, you don't always go into the nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
But yeah, Claire was absolutely brilliant. And I've emailed her, saying, great job on the pod yesterday. And I was like, honestly, the one thing I must share is Alex, the AI. So we were walking around various departments and this, that, and the other. And I had a heart attack because I walked in the room and basically Alex was sat right behind the door. And I was like, I thought it was a person at first.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was turned off at the time. So that scared me. And then I realised there was like other dolls or dummies or mannequins or whatever they called them. And I was like, this is actually really quite creepy. I wouldn't want to be in here on my own on the night. And then Claire did have the idea when we were getting Alex to potentially bring Alex, because I host the Darlington College podcast.
You do?
Because they were like, we're happy to have you speak. Although saying that, Claire did a great job. So
She really did. I think she should take over.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they were like, maybe we should get you to interview Alex. But that never quite came off in terms of the level of AI. But
we had the trip round on the Wednesday because it was the first Wednesday of the month, so it was the Darlington Business Club.
Yep.
So I had the pleasure of catching up with Claire again, and then what she was telling me in the podcast, I got to see in real life, and it was amazing. I loved it.
You listened to it and then lived it.
Which
is actually
just learn it.
Yeah,
live
don't
it.
just learn it, live it.
Yeah. So that was really, really, really good. Fantastic. Big round of applause for what Darlington College have done. We had a number of Darlington Business Club members who were fairly well impressed, I would like to say, amazingly impressed. And we also, Michelle and I, managed to book one of the restaurants. Because obviously, the Glass House, amazing. We were saying that Claire was saying, I think she was saying on the podcast, to see the students at the very start, and obviously it's good food, but then to taste and see it at the end, oh my word.
And I've had that food a couple of times.
Have you really?
And it is splendid.
Yeah, we've got a book table.
I like to describe the college as like a micro society, all under one roof. And what people are like, what do you mean little? I'm like, no, not little.
No.
Just they've got hair and beauty, so you've got like your hairdressers, you can get your nails done, you can get a haircut for the students and things like this. You've got a restaurant in there, you've got a media studio which can like turn out content and do
absolutely.
things. Like you've got the entire thing, you've got IT rooms, you've got plumbing suites, you've got all sorts of stuff.
Automobile.
Yeah, the garages are amazing.
We went into there. There was actually a class on, so we had to be quiet. But we got taught, and Claire was showing us the electric cars and how the students and the largest students. When I say students, I mean of all ages.
Yeah.
But even them, they were like electrical cars and how you can charge them. I'm like, oh my word, how clever is this?
And I always say the thing is with the college is you see the big frontage in terms of the glass entrance and all of this, and it looks spectacular. But you can't see what's. You've really got to go in it and kind of see what it's all about. I was walking, where is it? There's just like a one room that's like an empty floor at the start of the year. And then you walk in a few weeks later and there's like brick walls everywhere. And it's like,
we saw that.
We
saw that.
Yeah,
that
like
was
the
incredible.
bricklayer and stuff.
We saw the robotics labs where the students actually work on robotics. They were saying, Claire says one of the success stories. I can't remember, forgive me, I can't remember the name of the company that provides the robotic arms, but big shout out to them. It begins with C, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, the C company, aren't they?
So anyway, what they were saying is that one of the success stories is that an actual manufacturing plant came to the students with a problem to say, how can we automate this? And the students resolved it. And they were so impressed, they implemented it live in their system.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what a great story that is.
There's a podcast episode, Claire.
Oh,
so yeah,
honestly.
What a fantastic place. Absolutely brilliant. And I'd highly recommend people go and check it out because as soon as you get into the facilities, you really understand what is going on in that building.
One of the attendees at the Darlington Business Club said, it's like the TARDIS. I didn't realise how far it goes back. I'm like, oh yeah, it goes far back.
Did you get to go in the immersive classroom that she mentioned, the 3D?
We looked inside it with all the green screens. Yeah, obviously it wasn't on, and we met Alex and we met all the rest of them.
Alex, the AI doctor.
I'd love to sort of like arrange where I could go in and see the 3D room in action.
We'll get that sorted.
We'll get that sorted.
But yeah, so great episode. Thank you for covering.
And how's the young lad?
He's doing all right. He's doing all right. Obviously, he's just been a bit under the weather.
Bless him. And you had to take over the caring duties.
I have, but and there's been a couple of days where I've worked from home.
And again, how good's that?
Well, it's good because I've got this thing called Microsoft Teams. No, I work from the cloud. I was talking to Alina via Teams yesterday. Hello,
yes,
Alina, how are
indeed.
you? And she's like, can you leave me alone, please? I'm like, okay. See you later, bye.
I'm trying to get work done. Trying to get work done.
Yeah, fair point. But yeah, no, so
good,
a bit of remote working and stuff like that.
3 degrees of separation.
What?
I went to see a potential new customer at Morton Park.
Yeah.
I rocked up, spoke to a very, very nice gentleman called Mark, and explained what I was trying to do. He's trying to link some computers with the cloud and the printing. I've introduced him to Teams, or I've spoken about Teams. He's like, tell me more. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I was talking to him, and I said, oddly enough, I was looking where you are. And I said, you're right next door to Dan.
Yep.
Dan from
DMH Dan.
DMH Dan. And I went, Adam introduced me to him. And he went, Adam Walker. And I went, yeah, do you know him? He said, yeah. He said, obviously, the rugby stuff like that. And I went, oh, my God, I'm in trouble
stuff,
now.
And I've also taken some photographs for him.
He said that. And he went, I said, I do the podcast. And he went, it's you that does the podcast. Yeah. So what a small world, eh?
I know, fantastic. So Mark and Teresa.
Didn't meet Teresa. I saw her. I waved her.
Yeah, they run the Macron Tees Valley Sports Hub.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to look at sports gear and stuff, that's a bit TARDIS-esque.
The printers are amazing.
Yeah, but you've got the showroom, the shop, essentially, and the showroom bit. But then actually out the back,
which is where I went to see.
All of the embroidery gear, all the printing. Oh, it's amazing.
It is amazing. So what they've got is that they've got one of the designer ladies. Forgive me, I only briefly met them, so I can't remember the names. But one of the designer ladies who is in the back office designing, they've got the BT. There's a massive cable running to link up Mark and Teresa, but the two huge printers are not linked at all in terms of network. So what they're ending up doing is like USB sticks, click. So he's basically saying, I'd like to. I use my phrase that I use: work smarter, not harder. And I went, I like that. And I'm like, yeah. So hopefully going to do a little pilot project.
Yeah.
So going to put a little switch in, link up the machine, the first little tiny printer machine, because it's got a network port in the back. We're going to improve it because it runs Windows 7 Compact. You heard about that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's basically a very, very, very small interface screen.
Yeah.
But it runs a Windows operating system, but it's highly it's highly turned back.
Yep.
Purely for the fact that it runs the operating system and that's it. But it is Windows 7. So what I was saying is, we'll make a share on one of the designer's PCs, check that we can actually make the Compact 7 see the share, which we should be able to. But obviously I'm very open and honest and go, no, I don't want you to spend all this money and then go, can't make it work.
Can't work. Yep.
So hopefully that gets done. And then he basically said, if that can work, I want you to network up the whole of the other printers, because he said it's just time consuming.
It is.
It really is. The manual process.
And you're like, which version have I put on the USB? Version control, all of that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So then I'm starting mentioning about Teams, and he's like, "Can you lock down Teams so I can only see certain things?" I went, yeah. And he went, tell me more.
You were like, you could also talk to Adam on it.
No, I could tell you Adam where to get off.
Well, I'm sure. Right, I was going to bring a prop in today. To give you my theme. You can stop freezing now. To give you my theme, but then it didn't work because it was. If I pulled out a bottle of ketchup and opened the lid, you could say it was open source.
However, in hindsight,
that is. I think we just stop there. That's episode 79.
That's episode 79. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
So the reason why I'm saying it like this is because we're going to talk about open source today.
Right.
And we had a comment it was our Instagram on one of the videos, and it was to do with the Windows 10 end of life stuff.
All right, okay.
And there's a video talking about this and the other. And someone, Daryl, commented, "Have you done anything about open source?" And I'm like, we've skirted around it. So we've skirted around open source. We've kind of touched on a few things, and we've mentioned things like Linux and this, that, and the other.
And Zorin.
But we've never kind of fully embraced it. Because I was going, I'll find you the open source episode. And I've gone back through and I'm like, I don't know which one it's in because it wasn't like the main focus.
No, it wasn't. It was
So today, can we have open source in the title, please?
Yes,
Because
exactly.
this is all about open source today. Now, I'm going to say, hand on heart, I know a little bit about open source to a varying degree. I know you know a lot of bit about open source. So I'm going to throw you some tennis balls today for you to hit out the park.
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Right, okay, brilliant. So
Net.
No, yeah, I'll probably serve a few into the net. So if I do fumble, we'll fumble through together.
We'll fumble through together.
So today's all about open source. So in simple terms, Andy, to you, what is open source?
Open source is non-commercial software where the community has written the software and it is provided usually free to public. However, some branches of that will say this is an open source version for public, residential, non-business commercial use.
Yep.
Or commercial use, you do have to pay a license, but it's trying to compete against the big manufacturers of the world to provide an alternative and typically at a lesser expensive cost.
It's almost like I primed you and I gave you no warning about
You
this.
did not give me any warning on that, but that's what I understand open source to be.
Okay, so that for me is very good because actually, if we just jump back into Zorin, because I think that's the easiest
Beautiful
way.
operating
We've
system.
talked about it. So Zorin is a Linux
Distro. That's what they call it.
distribution.
Distro.
Yeah.
But that's, the nickname is distro.
And so you've got loads of different versions of Linux or loads of different versions of software operating systems that are based using Linux.
Correct.
So you've got Ubuntu.
Yep.
You've got Zorin. You've got
Mint.
Oh yeah, I've got it. Yeah. Debian, Fedora.
GNOME.
GNOME.
That's another version of
and
it.
then you go down. I've seen some weird, crazy
my
version of
goodness
Linux
me,
that people have just created off their own back.
Yes.
But the idea is it's centralized to Linux and this, that, and the other. And people have created then collaboratively operating systems and things like this.
Yeah.
So if we just zoom in on Zorin for a second, you said to me, that old laptop that is struggling to run Windows, install Zorin.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I went and watched a few tutorials and found out all about it, installed Zorin, and it is brilliant.
It's fabulous.
It's genuinely brilliant. I have
really
a great machine that you wouldn't think was struggling.
Nope.
On Zorin. Like, if you put Windows back on it, it would be painful to use. However, the experience is brilliant, and I actually take a lot of pleasure in using that device because I know how much it was struggling, this, that, and the other, and I know that I'm reusing it and I'm extending the life. So there was that there. Now, you don't just have to use an open source software like Linux to just because equipment's like tired or old.
No.
I've got many friends who use...
I doubt that.
I've got two friends...
Thank you, that's better.
Who use...
Hang on, 3. Now you know Mark. Mark and
but
Teresa.
he doesn't
4.
use Linux.
Oh, yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
So, of the 3...
Sorry about that.
I have 2. They are very much into the top. One of them's my brother.
Yes, you
He's a
mentioned
massive
briefly.
Linux fan.
Massively Linux fan.
And one of them, Rob.
Yes.
Bitcoin Rob that we
Bitcoin
had on.
Rob.
Yeah, he has Ubuntu
Yes.
on his main driver.
Absolutely.
Why would people go for... I know their reasons, but what are the benefits of someone using Ubuntu? Why would they go to that instead of Windows, say?
Okay, so Windows is, as we've previously mentioned, it's a commercial version. Yeah, it is out there and it runs the majority of the programs that you can do, but there is a cost associated with it because it's the massive operating system in the world. Hackers, spammers, the nefarious people out there, they all try and attack it. Plus, Windows has to be all things to all men. Yep, you run a marketing agency, you run Adobe, Photoshop, I run IT, I've got to run different things. So it's effectively got to be everything to everybody. A Linux machine can be made to be very, very focused. In Rob's case, he went, I just wanted to do certain things. And therefore...
He's a web programmer.
He's a web programmer. Therefore, when he's working in his web language, whatever that may be, Rob, he can actually manage to do the job in much less at the same time, and the machine is dedicated. Faster, better, because it's only ever doing these certain things. Typically with Linux, just like with Windows, you've got to install extra things, but typically Linux comes lightweight. You have to install these extra things in order for it to do X, Y, and Z.
Which is why that computer that I've got with Zorin on works, correct?
Yes, because all it's doing is it's going, what do you want to do? I'm on the web. That's fine. It doesn't need the Windows security things. It doesn't need Windows Xbox. It doesn't need the messaging of Teams. All of these components have to be there because if you think about
Doesn't every Windows have like a Minecraft button on it? I'm sure.
An Xbox, it comes with all of these types of things, my friends. And that's what I'm saying. It's got to be all things to all men. Linux tends to run so much better because A, it's written in the language that is like, well, it can run on any architecture. You know, whether it be an i7, a Core i5, or in the case, I think it was your mum's old laptop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the one that we had for here.
I mean, it was a great laptop, but I think if you remember the episode pre-COVID or just in the middle of COVID. Yeah. So the hardware, it jumps, whereas Linux, it runs really what's called low-level code. It runs super, super fast, but if you want it to do X, you have to install it, which is why base component, it runs super fast.
Yeah, so... I think just to touch into that's how people often understand open source. Now, when we did touch on this a while ago, security in Linux, right? So let's get into that because that's probably a bit of an elephant in the room right now.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Obviously, what people love and what I'm loving actually about open source, and this is going to go into other stuff in a minute, but what I'm loving is it's community based.
Yes, it is.
People feed into it. Yeah. So describe how that works, because obviously if you know what it's like when you got a bunch of people around a table with a bunch of ideas. What's that process? How does that work?
It's all about interaction. It's all about the community trying to make this operating system stronger, better, and more secure. So typically, unfortunately, a hacker will try to work in Linux purely for the fact that it allows him to develop the malicious code to then implement into Windows. It's almost like a builder, who wants to break the tools. Why would he break his own tools?
Yeah.
So Linux is, in the industry, inherently more secure. Plus, if you think about it, my friend, in terms of a Windows, remember when we spoke about antivirus and I spoke about the AI version, like the endpoint detection response? You've got these big commercial firms that are looking to fix the bugs, identify the viruses, identify the malicious code, but that is a particular company. Let's just say it's, the one that we particularly use, Enable. It's a huge company, so, it's got loads of employees, but let's make it easy. It's Enable, they've got 100 employees in total, and out of those employees, 25 of them are working on the security of the, to update the malicious code, update the antivirus signatures. A community, you've got the world. Anybody that can and has an interest in Linux can register and be saying, hey, I've noticed that there's a particular bug in this Linux code. Because it's open source, you can download and see how Zorin is written, Ubuntu is written, Linux is written, and then you have the whole world and the community joining as one big family going, tell you what, I'll fix that code for you, or not I'll fix it for you, I found the bug.
Yep.
And then obviously the community registers with the open source. You do have to have administrators in any walk of life. So the administrators then go, thank you for that, Adam, for fixing that bug, and then they will patch it for you.
Yeah.
But think of it, instead of 25 employees, you've got the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So the more people that can help you, the better it is.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is they can sense check each other.
Absolutely.
So an example of that, which is perfect, is it was last year? Yeah, it was last year. Last year there was a man. I think it was April last year. So coming up a year ago as we were recording.
Wow, that's clever.
Yeah, just by chance.
Just by chance.
But basically, it's something that was a bit rare, and it was that Linux had been infiltrated.
Yes,
the source code.
I remember this.
Yeah, and someone had been putting stuff in. Now, it wasn't a case of, because it's community led, what they had to do is they had to drip feed bits of this into the bits of this vulnerability that they were trying to create into the coding, and they were contributing positively to stuff as well, but also putting in this backdoor situation going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, the code was, being developed and going out and hadn't come to fruition yet in terms of the hack itself, I believe. But what happened is one person who has a very, interesting hobby, it seems, because they were reading the open source code of Linux.
Yeah.
And they found this code that had been slowly drip fed into the Linux system that someone had done. And they've gone, hang on a minute, that's not right.
Correct.
And then goes to the world, hey, everybody, what do you think of this? And then it emerged that somebody, whilst they'd been contributing, had also been trying to slide something to create a backdoor.
Correct.
Now, the beauty of it is the community care about it, and the community found it.
Absolutely.
And the community dealt with it. So if you're thinking about security, and the thing is, because it's open source, it's so much more public.
Yeah.
We don't know, we don't hear what Windows or iOS, Apple, are finding issues with, or backdoors or weaknesses. Nope. We know that they released security patches, but to put it plainly, chances are every time you get a software update, they're fixing a weakness that they've found.
Somewhere.
Yeah. It's not broadcast as, hey, there's a problem.
No.
They might, sometimes they occasionally go, make sure you update your devices.
WannaCry was a critical one.
Yeah, WannaCry was one of those.
They had to flag that up.
Yeah, so they needed to do that, for example. So, again, strength in numbers, public crowd mentalities, maybe a good way of looking at it.
100%, my friend. Open source tends to be viewed by the commercial people as, because it's not commercial, we don't like it because it's open to nefarious things, because it's open source. That's actually not the case. The open source community, I would say, is a much more trusted than the commercial ones. And not because of monies, not because whatever, it's because they care.
Yeah,
100% they care, mate.
And I think you can speak to anyone. You try and find someone who has Linux on their computer, right, and go, what do you think about Linux or Windows? They will talk a long time about Linux, and they will say 3 sentences about Windows.
Yeah.
Not because Windows is bad, it's just they're so invested in it.
Absolutely,
people
passionately about it.
So that's why I wanted to kind of move on to this, because we've been touching on that. So Linux, I know we've gone quite heavy, but it's a really good example there on how open source works and is sort of developed and looked after. So the next thing I've got is, do you know of any other open source things out there in the world?
Yeah, VLC. We've spoken about this.
VLC. So what is VLC?
It's an open source video player that is just phenomenal because it handles all the codexes for you. It's completely free of charge. It's got file opening, as in you can open a single file, you can open a folder, you can stream music. It just does everything. Audio and video, it's just the bee's knees.
VLC is brilliant. I've got it, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a full disclosure. It's a really good media player. Again, I'd see it as a media player without all the faff and bloat, and it just works.
Audacity. It's a sound player. I use it all the time to help with my job in Heritage.
That was open source.
Yeah, Heritage Chart Radio. Purely because if you think about it, it can take multiple tracks. So I'll give you a little example. May not hit with some of the people in here. You're probably old enough to remember.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Reed in the early days used to do on the stage something called Bits and Pieces.
Yes.
Okay, so Bits and Pieces, we've developed that now. So I do this every day for Mike, and it's basically 8 songs. Okay, and the 8 songs, I play 15, 16-second clips of the song without the title.
Yep.
Okay, and in between what we call a chihuahua sound, which is like that, and then you move on to the next song, and the next song, the next song, the next song, the next song.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called Bits and Pieces because we started off with the Dave Clark 5-man, all to pieces, bits and pieces. And the idea is you have to get 8 songs, name the title, the artist, and then there's a running theme through it. Okay, so Mike approaches me and goes, this is what I want to do, Andy. I'd like to resurrect this. I've got the songs I give you, the theme I give you. So if I take yesterday's, it started off with the Beatles, Something Warm Gun. And then it was another one about Flo, and then Dion, and Bing Crosby, something like Hair, Shores. Anyway, the last word was anagrams of animals. Okay, so each song do that. I load them into Audacity, okay? I record the 15-second clip, and then I automatically put it into Audacity. In between each clip, I put the chihuahua sound, I clip it all, takes me about 5 or 6 minutes. Audacity does everything for me. Export it into MP3, meta tags it for me, job load. Again, didn't have to pay for it. It's an absolutely phenomenal tool.
I really love open source.
Open
I
source.
really do. I'm coming into it. Okay, so what other things do you know that are open source?
PDF24.
Straight off the tip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Go on then, fire
So
away.
PDF24 is basically an alternative to Adobe Reader. Now, do not get me wrong, the full-blown version of Adobe Reader, which allows you to generate PDFs, exceptionally clever, exceptionally good. It's a real-world product to the fact that you purchase it.
Yeah, we
you use it phenomenally well. For those other companies that maybe do not want to subscribe to Adobe, what PDF24 is an open source version that it can do. Read PDFs, okay? Generate PDFs, compare PDFs, join PDFs, convert PDFs from PDFs into Word, into text documents, into CSV documents, all open source. It's a phenomenal alternative. It is probably, I would say, about 6 or 7 times the size of Adobe. And it just runs. And as an added bonus, the PDF24 people have made it available online. So if you don't even want to install anything, go to PDF Online, drag your PDFs up, just choose what to do with it.
So I've got it on screen here.
Amazing piece
You
of
can
software.
split a PDF, merge a PDF, compress a PDF. That's quite often important. Sign a PDF.
Yep.
Images to PDF, PDF to images, extract images, protect PDF, rearrange pages in the PDF, remove pages, rotate pages, unlock a PDF, web page to PDF, add a watermark, add page numbers, web optimize a PDF, redact a PDF.
It's an incredible piece of free software.
Okay,
These things just stand out in my mind.
there we go.
There we go. Paint.net.
Paint.net. Fire. Is this like Microsoft Paint?
No, it's Paint.net, but it's an equivalent to Adobe, again. So there's 2 versions that I use, 3 pieces of software that I use. Each have got their own strengths, all open source. Paint.net, in Fran View, I believe it's called, and GIMP, which is a fairly thing. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah, GNU image manipulation tool. I know because
Absolutely.
I actually included that. Me and Alina recorded a workshop the other day.
Did you really?
And I said, well, it was all about how to create social media stuff, and I was including some of the tools.
Yeah.
So I said Photoshop, Canva, CapCut, things like that.
Yep.
And I was also GIMP. GIMP-GNU image
Absolutely.
utility tool.
It's a phenomenal. All those 3 pieces of software are
It's
really
essentially like
fantastic.
Photoshop, isn't it?
It is. Now, I don't want to bring the open source thing down, but these programs have been made as an alternative to commercial pieces of software, okay? If you were asking me, if you were one of my customers, not one of my customers, but you came to me and asking my advice and said, I want to be able to manipulate images, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do this, I want to be able to do this, I would recommend Adobe.
Yep.
Because it's a commercial product. You've got support. They are constantly developing the software from points of view of AI and to integration. There is nothing wrong with the open source versions. However, I would still highly recommend the commercial version because I just feel Adobe's got that edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you are not in that market where you need absolute quality of your Adobe, then absolutely these other 3 programs, knock yourself out with them.
And actually, people are asking me about Adobe. I have full-fledged Adobe. It's
You have?
awesome. And it's worth the money.
It really is.
However, for people that don't do what I do, but maybe want to do some of the stuff that we do as a company, I'm like Canva really gets you quite a lot. Of the way,
Absolutely.
for example, and do that. Okay, other open source stuff. GitHub. Yeah.
Source code repository. I use it all the time for my Visual Studio Code when I'm programming.
So what does GitHub do? You go, hey, I've got a problem, don't you?
Yeah, basically there's 2 things. GitHub allows you to do source repository, so you know about version control. GitHub does that as well. GitHub have recently just released their open AI version. So I can go into my Visual Studio Code, link it to GitHub, and then GitHub has an open AI chat model, and I go, I would like to generate a PowerShell script that will take 17 files and automatically convert them to blah, 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 blah. And it will comb through everybody's publicly available code, and it will generate me the code that I would probably say is 95 to 96% accurate.
So people share code on GitHub.
People share code on GitHub.
They do. Right, content management systems.
Now, this one's probably over to you.
Yes.
Yeah, because I do know there are some out there, but I'm probably not in the market that you are there.
Drupal.
Okay.
Is open source. Joomla. And then in my results, I'm just going to double check this.
Oh, Joomla is like WordPress, isn't it? It's an open source CRM, open source WordPress software.
That was what I was going to.
Good.
So WordPress.
WordPress, open source, funnily enough.
Yeah, which people might not actually realise.
Probably not, because it's run like a commercial company, but it's actually free of charge.
Yeah.
It's open source, developed by the community. It's just that it's so good, WordPress have wrapped themselves around it.
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. How many websites are on WordPress?
You'd be amazed. I think we're in the millions.
It's the biggest platform, isn't it, for
It's
websites?
huge.
As of 20, and this is just a figure that's come up on Google, 1.2 billion.
Oh my goodness me.
Total websites, more than 472 million use WordPress, apparently.
That's blown my mind.
Yeah. So then I would wonder what the statistic is, because obviously there's loads of like bespoke programmed websites. So WordPress, if you don't know, what WordPress does is it helps you basically build your website, build a blog. You can attach plugins that people have developed from the community. You can then pay to get access to, and we do.
Yeah, we do. We do for some of our
plugins in terms of
WooCommerce.
You've got developers that work on it, and you can pay them to get access to a premium version of the plugin, which is then more supported, and and you get fancier features and this, that, and the other. But yeah, WordPress is open source, and it's used across the world by so many websites. So it'd be interesting to go, of the total number of websites that are out there, what's the percentage of like by how they're created? So what is the largest proponent computer programmers of HTML coded sites or whatever they're doing?
Yeah.
Or but WordPress is one of the biggest content management systems out there.
I think WordPress is probably where a large proportion of businesses start off, because it's open source. Yeah. It's less expensive, and if you remember the podcast with Simon from Upstairs, he was basically saying a lot of companies start with WordPress. WordPress has its place.
Yep.
There's absolutely no doubt about that in the world. It has its place in the market, and what people tend to find is the business grows and grows to a point where they outgrow WordPress, purely from the point of view that they need to put some functionality in there that WordPress is going, I can't do this. Yeah. I really can't. So that's where
shop front with a bit of a kind of, hey, this is an amazing contact form. Absolutely. Great way.
100%.
WooCommerce is a great way to go as well.
I would say some very, very large companies, the Virgins, the Coca-Cola, they wouldn't be on WordPress. I would like to think they maybe have started on it. You know what I mean? That would be a great thing to sort of go, I've started on it. But I do know that when you log into WordPress, down at the bottom where they have, it may have changed, Adam, but down at the bottom where they have, these are the companies that use WordPress, there are some high-profile companies that use it.
Yeah, they are. And it's quite a community out there. And again, everyone's feeding into it. Everyone's working on it. So there we go. So people may not have known that. If I then move on to, because I think we're in a bit of a thing. So there's cloud platforms. There's OpenStack. Have you used that?
OpenStack? No, I've used Opal.
Apparently, I've never used that.
No, I've used OpenStack.
Obviously, there are then things, and we've touched on this with the networking and stuff like this, things like Docker.
Docker is for your Synology. It allows you to run contained images within your Synology NAS, oddly enough, or in other platforms.
Contained images, you lost them.
Probably.
Different computers.
Virtual computers. Virtual computers.
So you may have one physical computer in the room. You can use Docker to then set up 10 virtual computers within that computer.
Correct.
One computer could be running a NAS, true NAS.
I was about to touch on that.
Source,
that's open source.
We'll come on to that next.
Yeah.
So true NAS storage, which we'll talk about and we have talked about. So you might have one virtual computer running true NAS. You might have another computer running, I don't know, Plex. We'll say that for now, or Jellyfin, because that's
because that's the other thing that we're going to use.
That's a media thing, so you could.
Yeah, we actually use a piece of open source software called Proxmox.
Yes,
and that's a virtual thing. I have a virtual Mac, I have a virtual Windows 11, and I have a virtual a virtual Linux.
Well, so do you know all this technology I keep lifting off you? So I've got a true NAS.
Stealing.
I've got a machine in there, Spielberg, which we talked about, and that has got true NAS.
Yeah.
So what that is, while we're on it, that is a storage solution for us on our network where we can move files around. And also we use it as an editing thing. So yes, we can move files on there. It's not for file storage.
Nope.
It's purely so Alina can chuck the files on of a video and edit on there, because what we're finding is we're just filling the hard disks on her physical machine.
Correct.
So we need to fill the hard disks of a different machine that we can edit the project, and then we archive the footage off that, and then the next project comes in. So we got TrueNAS in place in order to do that, because I was like, Andy, I need something that's on the network.
Yeah.
That can run data fast, because if you're using like a storage server, it doesn't work so quick.
No.
And it slows down the entire process. So that's what we put in place there.
Yeah.
But I actually did put Proxmox on another machine at home. I'm working on it at the moment. I was fiddling. I need to wipe it and start again. But there's a machine at home that I've been exploring. And trying
it's
to learn
amazing, my friend. It's amazing. Yeah. And one of the things I'd also like to state is that from your point of view, Adam, when you came to me with that problem, as in I need a NAS storage, I need this, I need that, I could have offered you another Synology NAS, a commercial product, yeah. But knowing what I know in terms of about reusing hardware, because I do care passionately about reusing hardware, my suggestion to you was TrueNAS. I don't think at any point you questioned why not a Synology NAS, because it's not that you don't not trust me, but the solution that I gave you was like, so you're telling me I could repurpose an old machine, yes. All I need to do is buy...
Cost me 2 hard disks.
2 hard disks, yeah. The TrueNAS software is free, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Can it do the job? Well, I'll hand that over to you. How long has Spielberg been running now?
No, over a year now.
And have you had any issues?
Do you still use Spielberg all the time? Yeah, she does.
So have you had any issues apart from that very first silly niggle where we were both scratching our heads?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, and I did what I usually do and go, what if I click that? And
it works.
So I had that happen yesterday.
Yesterday.
I'll come on to that.
And have you had any problems since?
No, it's been great. Apart from when Alina filled it.
How is Alina?
But Alina's now very proactive at moving the projects on, because at one point she filled it, it had no memory. It locked up. But I need to expand the capacity on that.
But again, that's easy to do, my friend. We can just do that as long as the motherboard can have additional hard drives, or it's painful, but you take the decision to go, I'll replace the 2 hard drives.
The comparison there, right, is it would be easy to think, how much is I've got a Synology. How much is a Synology? It's about $1,000 with all the discs in.
I would say you are looking in the region between 1,000 to 1,500, depending on what you put in.
Yeah, because you can buy the shell, and the shell's like 400 or 500.
400 or 500 quid. It's the hard drives that are expensive.
Yeah, but the shell is also the computer.
Correct. That runs the operating system that feeds out.
I mean, it's a fantastic product. Would highly recommend it. But obviously, this was like, well, I've got that sorted. I need something here. I've already spent $1,000 or whatever on this Synology to back everything up and stripe data and protect things and this, that, and the other. TrueNAS is a really good solution. And when you suggest it, I'd kind of been trying to dabble with the idea of open source and networking. I was like, sounds good, I'll learn something from this.
But also, can I point out that from a commercial business point of view, and again, what we do as businesses, we invest in something. You invested in the idea of a TrueNAS.
Yep.
In terms of that, you also, as a business, review things in a year's time. It's like, look at what happened to that. Was that a solid business investment?
Oh, brilliant.
100%.
Yeah.
You've had no downsides.
How much nicer has it made your life, Alina, having that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's big nod, big thumbs up.
Yeah, and the issue we were having is we were losing production time.
Yeah.
Due to moving data, doing things. It was like, we need it quick there, and then we can move stuff about. So that is TrueNAS. So the reason why I'm sort of talking about this, ultimately, and it's something that I've been working on at home. I touched on this before. Now, Plex isn't open source per se.
But it's a beautiful product.
It's a fantastic product, and the free product is great.
Yeah, I pay for it, but...
Do you?
I pay for it because I want this. I want the extra bits to be able to go to a hotel and stream movies to my hotel.
Okay, understood. So a Plex server, right? At my house.
Does Corey know about this?
Yes, she does. No, do you know about this?
All right.
At my house currently, there is a Plex server running, and it did have my music on it, and then I've just started toying with legally obtained movies. But everything we say from now on, by the way, all legal and
absolutely 100%.
Right. And I'm like, but how do I get to them? We're living in this weird world where it's like you had DVDs, if you're old like us, or you're live streaming. I bought a movie on Prime.
Yep.
But you've got to watch it in the Prime viewer.
Correct.
Which, I'll be honest, frustrates me.
Yep.
Because I'm like, I've paid, and this is a moral thing that we have, and this, get the soapbox out, right? Because this is a bit of a moral thing that we have, and it's where we're going. Software as a service is like your Adobe Creative Cloud. You could argue it's your Netflix as well. That's movies as a service, if that makes sense.
Sky, that's a software as a service.
Yeah, so software as a service, also known as SaaS. Basically, what you're doing is you're paying a subscription fee and you get access to. Part of the issue is all the streaming platforms at the moment have lifted their prices.
Yep, they have.
They are now serving me adverts
100%.
during the thing. Now,
I paid for that movie.
yeah, so I bought a movie the other week for us to watch. We watched it, brilliant. But then I'm like, so where's my product? And I was like, where is my product? So I was like, right, I'm going to download the Prime Video thing on my computer. I'm going to go find the file. I'm going to hit download, and I'm going to go and find the file.
No, you're not.
No.
Oh, no, you're not.
And then I looked on a few forums, and it's like hidden files, going this funny thing, and no idea. So we currently live in a world where I've paid to buy a movie off Prime, and I like Prime. I've got no gripes with Prime, but I'm like, hang on, I bought a movie. It's just the idea of it. I have bought a movie, and yet I own it, but I get, where is it?
Cancel your Prime account and then go and try and find that movie you've purchased. Gone. It's linked.
So I haven't bought it, correct?
No, you haven't. You have bought the rights to stream it to your Amazon Prime account. If you took the time, and by the way, nobody ever does, I've only done this purely because, oddly and spookily enough, I had the same discussion with my father a year ago, and he basically said, that movie's mine. I went, no, it's not. And we dug through, I must have dug through pages and pages, and it's probably changed, but it basically says, and I will summarize, air quotes, don't quote me, but I summarize, you have bought the right to stream the movie through your Prime account. If you choose to cancel your Prime account, you lose the right to stream that movie. You've lost it.
I'm good.
Now, somebody quote me wrong. Somebody, I'm happy to open it.
I believe that is the case.
But I believe that is the case.
I bought the film, right?
Yeah, but
I bought the data. I bought it. Haven't I?
No.
No. Turns out I haven't. So I was like, I don't like that. Because it's like, I now have to continue having a subscription to have bought the thing. And I don't know, like, we're in this funny thing at the moment where, I mean, Alina, sorry, I'm old, but I grew up with the arrival of the internet, I think is probably, and when I mean with the arrival of the internet, it was like, it wasn't in your house and then it was.
Businesses had it first.
Someone would pick up the phone in your house and your internet would go off.
Yeah.
Like, it would be that da-doing-dee-doing-dee modem experience and all of this. So at that point, we're all buying videos, buying DVDs as they videos, I know. Videos at first, VHS, and then it was DVD and Blu-ray and all of this sort of stuff.
3D came and went.
3D came and went, yeah. And then I've been on member of streaming services for a good number of years, but then I'm equally like, right, well, this is now changing because I'm now sat here having to watch adverts when I've done that. And I thought, anyway. So, and they are entitled to change their terms of service as they wish. But I'm like, what if I want to physically own the file? Firstly, is that even possible, Mr. Reed?
Nope.
Anywhere?
Nope.
Because I know there's like Google Play Store and all this sort of stuff. Is it the same deal? You have to have the player.
You have to have the player and you have to have the account. Cancel your account, you do not have access to them anymore. It's like, think of it as your phone. I've downloaded a phone app. Yeah, so you go into Google Play Store.
Yeah.
Click pay, it's yours, linked to your Google Play login. Now, imagine me hacking your account, changing your password, and locking you out of your account.
Yeah.
You go to Google Play Store on your phone and attempt to play that game, it goes, you're locked out. You can't play the game anymore. You've purchased it, but I've changed your password. Same principle. Cancel your Google Play account, your App Store, your Google Play App Store will go, who are you?
So you could be, the thing is with Google Play, you can have an account, but you're not necessarily paying a monthly subscription.
Correct.
Which is a bit different.
Which is terribly different, you're right. But the same thing. Log into the Google Play Store on a brand new, Brand new phone, open up Google Play Store. What's the first thing it asks you to do? Log in.
Yeah.
If you choose, no, I don't want to log in, but I want to play my game that I downloaded, it goes, no, it's linked to your account.
Right. Because music, on the other hand, and this is what I don't understand. So music, I DJ, I'm DJing tomorrow night, and I legally obtain, again, I can't stress it, I pay for it, I buy all the music, right? And I've gone, right, how can I do that? Because I've got various discs, my library's quite big, I need to back it up and this, that, and the other. And then I'm like, actually, I'd quite like to listen to it without having to get the decks out and plug everything in. So that's why I put it all on the server.
So let me ask you a question, young sir. How do you legally purchase and obtain your music?
iTunes, mainly.
iTunes.
Yeah, or DJ City, which is like DJ Pool. So you do pay a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
But
Now,
when you buy the track and download
I
the track...
believe it's yours, and I believe that's
yours.
the same with iTunes, isn't it? Even if you cancel your iTunes
you can
account...
get the files.
Yes.
You can see them. You've got them. It's your music.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen anything... If I'm wrong, please tell me. But
I'd be interested to find out that if you cancelled your iTunes account, where that music would go.
yeah, but the thing is, I'm not paying a license fee to have the iTunes account, which I'm fine with. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm
Because
just like,
iTunes account is free, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm a bit like, right, well, I can do that. So what I've got is I've got my files. I'm going, hey, Plex, look at the folder where the files are, please. And then I can enjoy music.
And that
now,
Plex is wonderful.
DVDs went through a period where you would get the digital versions. Scan this QR code and you can download the digital movie.
Absolutely.
That's when you could own it again.
Yep.
Right, so those movies, they're on Plex now.
Yeah.
Because I've been working on that this week. Hosted on the Raspberry Pi that I liberated from your office. Which you allowed me to go and play with. Thank you very much. But what I'd say is ownership.
Sorry, I've got another open source thing there, but yeah, go and
Yeah,
carry on.
but ownership is a huge issue, I think, in the space. And this is me, this is opinion. Like, and I know Rob talks about decentralization of currency with Bitcoin and all of this, and open source. And I'm looking at it going, actually,
Yeah.
this is a real issue, I think, at the moment that people are facing around ownership. The other thing, which prompted this from Daryl, is open source smartphones.
Yes.
So he said, could you do an episode on open source smartphones? We'll jump back to what you were saying there. I'll just touch on this, though. So I've had a little research in terms of what open source... There's not a lot.
No, because you're fighting against the Apples and the Google
so
people.
there's a Fairphone. By the way, no recommendations made. I have absolutely no idea on security, performance, any of that sort of stuff. But there is a company that I found called Fairphone. They come up high on the searches. It's their ambition to bring more fairness to software. We want to build trust within a community, support the software long after the phone has been launched, put users in control of their phone. I think the key thing for me there is the word control.
Yeah.
Right? And in terms of when we're looking at all these subscription services, control. The other one is Purism. The Librem 5 is out. Again, I know nothing about this. It's just what I've found. But it's a security and private focused phone because people do want privacy. Mm-hmm. They do. If you go on Reddit and type in open source phone, or when I've done it, Reddit things are coming up going, please can I have a phone that doesn't spy on me? This is what people are concerned about.
Yeah.
They're concerned about privacy as an issue. The other thing is people are concerned about ownership.
No, 100%.
So
You're buying into a software subscription world. We are. That's the current model of everything.
Yeah. However, if you look at Windows 11, you look at, Mac. The good thing about a Mac example is it's not like the Windows scenario. So I bought my Mac 2019, and I am on the most up-to-date version of iOS that I can be on for that model of machine, and it is still supported.
It is.
I don't have to pay anything extra for that. It's part and parcel. So you could argue, well, people say an Apple tax, but I'm like, you are equally getting all of the latest software. You're not having to buy a new version of software. However, you get a PC. Obviously, a PC is separate on the parts. All of it's put together, and then you add Windows to it, and that's why you've got to pay for Windows, because Windows only get paid at the point you take on their license. They're not getting paid for the whole machine. They're just doing the software.
But you did say last week quite rightly when we were discussing the Windows 10 end of life, you could have purchased a machine in 2020 with Windows 10. You've got 5 years. You paid for it once. You've had all the updates, all the upgrades, all the feature upgrades free of charge.
Yeah, I've got no issue with that.
No.
And that's what I mean. What I am a bit perplexed with
Perplexed with
is when we come to movies. which has made me go, right, how do I own my movies and have it on my home server?
So interestingly, me and Michelle probably about 2-3 years ago had the same epiphany, if that's the word, where we were like, I don't own any of these movies. So the latest movies I totally get. You know, I like going to the cinema.
Yeah.
I like watching a film. I like having date night with Michelle and we go out and stuff like that. But in order to watch a movie that I really like to watch again, what we've been doing is, again, there are other versions of that, but charity shops, CEX, where you go and you can pick up the movie for £2 to £3. Mm-hmm. I go, that's mine now. I purchased it. I go home, I rip it to my Plex library. And I go, fine, thank you.
I've got it.
I've got it.
I've purchased it. Quick question to Alina. I'm looking off. Are we just sounding a bit old? Because Alina is the idea, but maybe we're wrong. Yeah. Maybe the idea of ownership is a concept in digital
unique
space.
To
is
us.
a concept to us. So Alina, do you think what we're saying is right, wrong? Do you agree?
Do you own any movies? Do you own any music?
Are you bothered about owning?
See, different.
Not bothered about owning it. Ever. Like, genuinely. Happy but like, I've got a Spotify account as well. Yeah. I pay for the premium. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed my Spotify. Like, but then I'm like, all of my stuff. Yeah, maybe it's a me problem.
No. It's an age problem. Because those people, bless Alina, young age, they don't believe they own anything because all they've ever known is subscription, SaaS.
Is that fair? Yeah, she's nodding.
Sky. Should have been brought up and gone, oh, my mum and dad pay for Sky, pay for Netflix, pay for this, pay for that, pay for that. The parents would have been in your position going, look at my record collection.
I know.
And then Alina's going, I can stream a million songs.
It's all there. It's
all there. Yeah. I don't need a record player. I don't need, 2 to 3 years ago, my father and me got together and we purchased Michelle an actual record player. Yeah, it's in a beautiful old style because Michelle had old albums. She had the Queen album.
Yeah.
Yeah? The old vinyl, which is making a comeback.
It is. Yeah, I've got all my dad's
absolutely.
vinyl.
And Michelle had absolute, and she still does get pleasure of putting the record on.
Oh, I love it.
Having it down, having that crackle,
and
then the music
then
kicking
it goes.
in.
Yeah, and I love that too because I think it's important to step away actually from we've got all this tech around us. I'm just very aware that we're at this weird, crossroads where the divide, the open source divide is a smaller section of society, but they're so passionate about it.
Oh, God,
There's a huge thing on privacy, which I was thinking we should do an episode on privacy. Is it DuckDuckGo?
That's the one that does that really does. Oh, there's Brave.
Brave, that's another one.
That's another one. Dan, my son, uses that. He refuses to use Google Chrome or anything because he said Brave just naturally by default blocks everything.
Yeah. So that is an entire episode that we need to do.
You use it at home with Ubiquity and Pi-hole.
Yep.
Blocking all adverts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
I do as well. It's wonderful. I just want to touch on the Raspberry Pi because, oddly enough, we had a customer yesterday, last week, sorry. They've got a big TV like this, and they want to do a slideshow on it.
Yes.
Okay, the TV's fairly old. It does not have the capability like this beautiful thing does here, where you can plug a USB in and it will automatically do a slideshow. So they were asking us our advice. And basically,
I know just the thing.
They said, we don't want to do too much money. We appreciate we have to spend some money, but we don't want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi. So pay for the hardware. It was about £120 for a fairly decent Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
They wanted to stop. That's the biggest thing. That's what makes, I won't say that's what gets the cost up, but they wanted to store a large number of images to transfer.
Yeah.
So therefore, you can't go for a 64 gig SSD. You need to go for 128 because these are high quality images.
Yeah.
Okay. So Raspberry Pi with a case, with a cooler, set it all up. And basically what they were saying is we want the most elegant solution possible in order to update the files, the things. Raspberry Pi plugged into the back of the TV, networked up with a static IP address. Static IP address, if you don't know, is that you absolutely tell it it's 192.168.0.10.
Yep.
So it never, ever, ever changes. On the ladies' Windows machines, we enabled what's called Samba on the Raspberry Pi. Basically, Samba means I will allow my internal drive to be seen by Windows machines. We dropped the shortcut of the fixed IP address Raspberry Pi. Honestly, the lady's face was like, you mean to tell me I can just drag files into that shortcut? Like, yes, you can.
Yes,
she did it, and she was like, oh, my Lord. They've now ordered another one for another TV.
Brilliant.
Because I've just made their life so much easier.
I just find so much pleasure in these sort of solutions, don't you?
Yes.
Like, it's such a small project, relatively speaking. Actually, we need to do the same on there, Alina. So we can
that's a
update,
good...
because that USB port doesn't work. I'm pointing at the TV over there.
That's great podcasting, by the way.
No, we need to put a Raspberry Pi on there with a little Bluetooth keyboard or something. To just so we can pick the right thumbnail.
But beautiful to do that. And that's where I love the Raspberry Pi, because it's such good... Now, as you mentioned the other day with Zorin, it does take a tiny, tiny bit of extra additional work. You've got to basically know what you're doing. You know, you can't just pull up and go, although saying that, you know, I do class you as technical, Adam, but when I introduced it to Zorin, you had no idea what Zorin did.
Well, I'm glad you classed me as technical. don't look at that on screen, streaming from the Raspberry Pi at home. So I've just put my phone on the table with Plex on, and I am currently playing the movie from my house.
There you go.
And I had my internet like not letting it do it and block it, and I had to go in and make... Yes, there are things that you need to do. But now I've got my own mobile streaming service because I can access my movies, music from home, from wherever I am, basically.
But this is what I'm saying. Open source, if you... And I say this respectfully, if you take the time to a little bit of hard work and Googling and stuff like that, like Zorin... Yeah. You took that little bit of hard time, and I don't think it was massively difficult. You had to follow the instructions.
No, but there's so many YouTube videos out there.
And people of the community are out there to help you.
They are, and that's what I love about it. So, look, I know we went down a bit of a rabbit hole with ownership there, but but don't you think it's an issue? And I'm like, okay, we're buying... Like, if we're going to be subscribing to everything, like, what do we actually own at the end of the day? And it's almost like in the movie space anyway. I'm like, ownership is almost... It's like renting a house and owning a house.
All you own is the right to stream the movie. At any time you want, you are paying for the right to stream the movie at any time, any place, because it's your account. Cancel your subscription, you've lost that right.
But I think they can equally get rid of that movie that you bought, in air quotes.
I don't believe they can.
Can they not?
No.
Right.
Netflix movies come and go, but if you purchase it, you've purchased the right.
So there's a question. Obviously, Alina, for example, has put us in our place about ownership, and this,
not bothered.
Maybe it's just a 90s problem. Like, I don't know, like 90s, noughties, in terms of we are used to owning things when it comes to movies and stuff like this.
If you get hypothetical...
But then I'm like, because you could buy a DVD. My issue is you could buy a DVD.
Yeah,
you own the DVD.
You've got to have the DVD player.
Yeah, you can then watch the DVD and you can play it and you can own it. But we've created a digital society where you can't own the digital DVD, essentially, because they always hold the right. But then surely it's like, well, I suppose everyone makes more money at the end of the day. I don't know.
No.
I'm lost.
Exactly. Hypothetically, we all subscribe to Life.
We do. You can't take it with you.
You can't take it with you.
No, we do. Anyway, so that's me on my little soapbox. But it's kind of like my questions this week. Like, when you go through these things, and I think it's really good. Like, I've learned a good few things this week going through this process and looking at it. And, I've got more questions that I need to sort of figure out and work on. But I'm enjoying these little side projects. And people might go, you're geeking out. I've actually been doing all sorts this week.
Absolutely.
This is just a small element where
it's
I'm going,
great to geek out.
Yeah, I think it really is. So now...
Expand your knowledge.
I've logged our TV into it. So you can pull up music.
Absolutely. Or your slideshow, your photographs.
Yeah, all that.
It's
you
great
put it up
stuff.
On the TV. So
I think people are missing out if they don't do things like this.
Well, I think the problem is, and this is it, so your photos, they are, if you're an iPhone, they'll be stored to your iCloud, which is great, because then you've got a backup. I think that's fantastic. And I'd even argue that it's worth paying for the backup services.
100%.
Because you don't, it just saves you a job. And it doesn't do it. You can set up a little server in your house and this, that, and the other, and it backs up. But ultimately, if you had an issue with your house, fire, whatever, you could lose all of those. So I don't have an issue paying for a service at all. And I don't have an issue paying for a license. We pay for loads of licenses and fees. But then I'm like, equally, sometimes, can't we just own the thing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I'm afraid not.
In some cases, yes.
In some cases.
In other cases, no. But, you know,
I get where you're
it was
coming
just
from.
the movie space in particular. I was like,
Got your goat.
oh.
You were
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on here? How can we not? It was when I bought that thing on Prime, and I was prepared. I don't feel, you know, I was prepared that it would be in Prime, but I was like, right, I'm going to download it now. Where's my file?
nope. Not allowed.
Maybe that's because I just deal in a bit more on the tech side in
you're old.
terms of. Yeah, it's because half the time you used to have to manually plug all this stuff in and we get it to work to each other.
Half our listeners are going, what are they waffling on
Anyway,
about?
I'll get off my soapbox. But yeah, I thought it was good to touch on
No,
open
it's a
source.
really good
Like,
episode,
open
my
source
friend.
is a fantastic movement.
Oh, please look at it.
Yeah, but
Both
obviously,
for businesses and for personal use.
yeah, take everything with a pinch of salt, of course. Do what's right for you at the end of the day. I think just raising awareness about open source being out there is a really good thing. On the stuff with Windows 10 expiring in October, you know, in theory, you could just chuck a Linux system onto your machine and, you know, and go from there, and you'd have a really good experience. Depends what's right for you and what.
Absolutely.
Also.
Absolutely.
There we go.
What are you doing for the weekend?
So I am a family weekend, to be honest.
Right.
So no rugby. To be honest, I've not been playing because my shoulder has been.
Bless you.
I played a few weeks ago and I was fine, and then I slept funny on it, and then I couldn't lift my arm. And I was like, that's a bit of a problem when you got to like take photos and stuff. So I've had a few weeks off, and there's no game for the twos this weekend. I'm taking.
How's the triathlon training going? Obviously, with your shoulder, it's not.
Shoulder, no, it is.
Oh, good.
So the shoulder, I've managed to bring it back, so it's feeling all right. I just
Yeah.
don't feel like running headlong into another person at the moment.
No.
However, I'm swimming 3 times a week. I'm running twice a week. I ran 3 times a week last week. Ran last night. It's going well.
It's going well.
It's,
Oddly enough, just going back to Mark and Teresa,
Yeah.
they were saying about the podcast and stuff like that. And then he started going on about this guy, and he was like, oh, yeah, we do a lot for Tank. We do a lot for
Yeah,
Tank.
yeah.
And I'm like, Tank, why do I know that? Oh, Team Luke.
Team Luke, Mark Bell. Yeah, Tank is Mark Bell.
Yeah, because that's his nickname. And I'm like, sorry, I didn't
everyone calls him
put
Tank.
2 clicks together.
So there we go.
No, good old Tanks, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, the training's going well, obviously. Raising money for that, which is brilliant. I've set up my Just Giving page and all that, by the way.
Yeah. I won't bother.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I will. I promise you I will.
But set up all that. Training's going well. So a bit of training this weekend, but I'm DJing tomorrow night.
Oh, where at?
For a party. I've been told, it's at Dalton Rugby Club, I've been told that it is a 30 plus 10 party, not a 40th.
30 plus 10. Okay, that is 40 though, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're not
allowed to say that.
We're not allowed to call
Happy birthday to the person that's 30 plus 10.
Apparently so. Yeah, it's going to be good fun. I had a good party last week DJing as well. I went fancy
excellent.
dress. A fancy
Would you
dress,
go
it was 80s theme.
Did you go as a DJ?
I wore, yeah, I did. No, I wore like a really loud 80s type shirt and a big wig and sunglasses, and it was a good fun night.
Very good.
And then they were like, can we play Pass the Parcel?
Right.
Yes.
How old?
60th.
No, 50 plus 10.
50, yeah. 30 plus 30. Musical chairs.
Oh my goodness me.
So it was a bit different. So we did that. That was a bit of a laugh. And then we just had a really, it was a really
Good.
good
So
fun
back
night.
into your DJing fun.
Yeah, I've got quite a few on. I've got one, in fact, I've got this Saturday and next Saturday as well.
Busy DJ man.
Yeah. It's all picking back
good
up.
stuff.
So yeah, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, here we go.
Super. I'd add super exciting. So about a year and a half ago, Michelle got me my birthday present, and this Saturday is it. We're off to Newcastle to the Utilita Arena,
Yes.
and we are watching the live version of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. But I have got a VIP Premium Plus package, and I get to meet Jeff Wayne.
Do you?
I do. Get my picture taken with him, get a few bits of extra memorabilia, but I get to meet the man himself.
That'll be amazing. That.
Oh, man, and I just love War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
It's my go-to thing.
Yeah, but what a, as in pieces of work. What a piece of work that is.
What a piece of work. So oddly enough, we're travelling Saturday about 3 o'clock, meeting up with our friend Ant Barrell.
Yep.
I'm going to meet up with him at the Hilton, going to have a meal, and then going on 6:30, the doors open. I will be there clutching my VIP pass and being just like a 10-year-old. Like, oh my God, I can't wait.
Oh, well,
so that is just going to be
great.
amazing.
Yeah, that'll be incredible.
Ooh-la.
We'll leave it there.
But yeah, looking forward to that.
Oh, that is fantastic. Really enjoy that. That'll be incredible.
Honestly, can't wait.
I look
Can't
forward
wait.
to seeing all
Making
the
memories. I'm not going to show you any.
Yeah, whatever.
Right. Have a nice weekend, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.